gave our knowledge of the natural world extensive time, so that with uniformitarianism, the Earth has been dated at 4.6 billion years. As James Hutton, one of the originators of uniformitarianism, said, geology finds no vestige of a beginning, no prospect of an end. Geology also contributes the theory of continental drift. This theory says that continents float on plates. These plates drift over the surface of the Earth. We now observe that we are drifting closer to Asia at about an inch a year. The Atlantic Ocean is growing. The Pacific Ocean is shrinking. Doing this process backwards, we find that the continents fit together, and around 200 million years ago, all the continents formed one great supercontinent called Pangaea. So continental drift, another theory of geology, also gives us this extended period of time in Earth's development. Also contributed by geology is the fact that the early Earth's atmosphere was fundamentally different from that of present-day Earth. We know this because some of the older rocks contain iron that is not oxidized. Iron that forms in the presence of oxygen is oxidized, so this early atmosphere was a reducing atmosphere, not an oxygen-containing atmosphere. And oxygen was derived later when life first formed. The first forms of life produced oxygen as one of the products of their metabolism. So later rocks contain oxidized iron. Physics dates the origin of this universe at 14 billion years, dramatically supported this past summer when the satellite, I think we all heard about the satellite out in space that picked up the ripples left from the Big Bang. So physics, another branch of science separate from biology, separate from geology, and a science that's based on laws and mathematics, gives us another picture of a universe that is at least 14 billion years old. Biology, the science of my primary concern, underwent a synthesis in the 1930s and 1940s. So now we're from geology and physics supporting this period of time that we need for life to evolve. We come to biology. Biology underwent a synthesis, as I said, in the 30s and 40s. This synthesis brought together all the different areas of biology under the theory of evolution. In biology, we have only a very few theories. One of these is cell theory, that says that all organisms are made of cells. This theory is supported by our observations, as evolutionary theory is. The synthesis then basically allows us to make predictions based on evolutionary theory in each of the subsciences of biology. Genetics gives evidence for a monophyletic origin of life, okay, for a single organismal origin of life on Earth, and a mechanism by which beneficial traits can be inherited. The genetic code contained in our DNA is universal. Our DNA codes for amino acids which build proteins, and all DNA in bacteria to humans contains the same code. Genes exist in various forms, giving us individuality, and we pass half our genes to each descendant. Genetics has given evolution rich detail, and the two subdivisions of biology are today inseparable. Developmental biology, another subdivision of biology, gives us further evidence of evolution. Developmental biology reveals the presence of vestigial organs. Vestigial organs are useless organs found on organisms. So when we were embryos, if we can remember back that far, we had pharyngeal gills and we had tails. There's no function for these structures, but we have them as a remnant of our ancestry that we keep in the protection of the womb, where we're protected from harsh selection. Anatomy and morphology independently surmise that a single occipital condyle at the base of your skull is primitive, whereas two occipital condyles is advanced. This primitive condition is found in older organisms in the fossil record, which is separate then from the science of anatomy and morphology. And so we have confirmation of this observation of primitive character in the fossil record and in the science of anatomy and morphology. In my own area, animal behavior, we're constantly observing behaviors explainable in the context of evolution by natural selection and otherwise inexplicable. One example comes from egrets. When egrets are studied, they nest in colonies. During years of low food, the oldest chick pecks the next oldest chick pecks the chick beneath it. Each of these chicks exhibit this aggression when there is low resource availability. And during periods of low resource availability, each nest gives rise to one strong chick rather than spreading the resources between chicks. So this is predicted by evolutionary theory that each parent will maximize its output by allowing this aggression and allowing the strongest chick to prevail in each nest. Taxonomy, the naming of organisms, has changed from an early ununified science where each organism was named separately and no relationship was observed into the modern science of systematics, which incorporates evolutionary relationships into the name of each organism. So now when we name an organism, we must consider the evolutionary relationship of that organism before it takes a name. So each of these subsciences gets information from evolution and gives information back to evolution, the science of evolution. The study of ecology describes relationships between organisms and their environment. In ecology, we have found that competition for resources results in a division called resource partitioning. And this resource partitioning leads to a divergence in the types of organisms living in the same place at the same time. Biogeography, the distribution of organisms, made no sense until its father, Alfred Russel Wallace, co-discovered evolution by natural selection with Charles Darwin. Today, we expect and find unique island populations and commonalities between continents only recently separated. Thank you. Study any subdivision of biology or study paleontology and find more than examples